They're looking to keep themselves in from this Group A here. Group B still has 2 teams to come through as well. First the Koreans and the Europeans as well. So we'll have to see what today brings for us in light of tomorrow.
Well, right off the bat, actually, Millennium looking a bit aggressive. Everyone grouping in the same spot. They've been spotted, though. We'll see where the word comes out.
Oh, we actually haven't seen Wraith Ward be put down a whole lot in this tournament.
There's seen a couple of them here, and they are making their way forward. Honestly, like, the thing is that they're a little bit afraid because they don't want to get the ward killed, so they zone Pain back far enough that they don't think they'll get the attacks off, and they put the ward down. One thing I actually want to point out, though, before we get into the lanes, is Anguish is looking to play aggressively. He opened up with Elixir of Fortitude and some potions, plus the ward to check for the jungle. So he's going to like just try to bully out probably Katarina, but whoever he's against, you're going to see Anguish play quite aggressive.
Well, it looks like they are going to be doing that swap out. We have Lulu and MF top, but everybody's now making their way towards the bottom, and 4 wards have been placed. Like you said, Freak, placed in the spots they aren't going to stand, because that's where you want to know what's happening. And they have all 5 members right now. Ooh. Their pink ward goes down, so they know they are caught. And there's going to be a hit onto Tabs. Lee Sin goes in. They're going to just back out here.
Free damage is worthwhile at the very least, though. So they're happy to have that. Really, really good ward choice right here by Pain. They kind of they smelled the invade and saw it coming, and so you know, they put the ward down and made sure that nothing really bad happened to them. This is still pink warded though by Millennium. They could always show back up and clear that ward out a little bit later for 25 gold. They don't really need to. The jungle's going to be safe here, but it's 25 gold. You know,
hey.
25 gold, man.
25 gold he didn't have. So the lane swap coming out here, and it looks like Millennium taking a lot of damage going for these golems right now. But Fat Mama's also going to help on that red, so as Ezreal gets himself down to bottom, he won't have too much trouble, as the red-blue buff is also getting a little bit of assistance. But Kha'Zix's going very low on that. This could be kind of hard for them in the early part of the lane. He's actually already backing.
All right, yeah, he's going to do the same thing as last time, really, which was take the first camp down, just use only 1 potion, and then come back in at full life. This actually allows him to gank from full health with double buff. That normally isn't quite as doable on Kha'Zix, and most junglers in general, you take a bit of damage while jungling, so this gives him more overall sustain in the jungle, lets him just recoup about 300-400 health, and then just get back to the jungle with just more health ready to go.
Sir T just hanging off in the side. Looks like he is going to try to dodge his way out of this one, and he will make it out without being seen. Ezreal still by himself. No, down bottom there is actually Fat Mama coming out of the bush. I couldn't see him before. So they're going to get a good push onto Katarina. We've gone over that lane before in a 2v1. She's quite good at just farming under the turret and really being safe. But how is this Riven 2v1?
Riven's not the easiest 2v1 overall. Also good at last hitting on turret. Also has a shield. Is actually one of the better champions at dealing with these like 3-man tower dives. But being fully melee and not having easy, consistent wave clear without being in range of counterattacks, it's very difficult to actually do anything here.
And I'm So Fresh is posting up on that right side of Tribush. You can just see offside the screen. Nothing going to dive in here, though. He is taking quite a bit of time. He is looking for the dive and possibly looking, since the lane is pushed, for that Lee Sin, but they're not going to find him.
Now, he was looking for the counter gank. That was a very smart choice. They did know that it's just very common when you 2v1 to look for that level 3 dive on the turret. It's quite common. It's very powerful when you go for it. And so just a very defensive situation there. Wasn't looking to tower dive the Katarina, was looking to defend Riven. So you're going to see the minion kills kind of going everywhere. The Ezreal so far right now from Millennium having the best chance of this one. But the turrets, that's really the thing you want to look for. This one on the bottom side, they're up against Pain, down to about 2/3, almost down to a half. And not quite as much progress for Pain up against Millennium.
T2 taking a little bit of damage as Mama beautifully focusing down pretty much all of his ability attacks, but the 9-10 potions bought out by T2 just going to keep him well off in lane here.
Yeah, well, one thing you're seeing, though, is a lot of early aggression in the mid lane as well. And Nivea doing a very, very good job, landed a great stun, and it burned Tabs' flash. So he's in lane with only 2 potions and 1 charge left on his flask that'll barely put him back to full health. And you can see he's just sitting so far back. I'm surprised he's not using a potion. There he goes. Okay, so it's a game pause, and he's recalling back. So Tabs definitely not having the easiest time in this lane so far. He's down 5 minions. We saw him in this situation before, though, where he was up against Zyra mid, against Charu. And he had a really rough lane, actually ended up being down 100 minions overall, like, as the game progressed, but was still a huge playmaker for his team. Got his gold from champion kills, not from minion kills, and it worked extremely well for him in that game.
So the bottom lane being pushed out, as we look on the mini-map, or at least we look on the mini-map as you guys are seeing this, that gank was going to happen bottom again. I'm So Fresh read this from Lee Sin. He's read the top one. He said, went back to buy. This is going to happen down bottom. And he's doing a great job at just kind of mentally knowing where Lee Sin is. They don't have any more wards on that side of the jungle. So this is all just I'm So Fresh being himself.
And he is just being so fresh.
So fresh.
He is being so fresh. And being just aware of what the other jungler is doing is incredibly important. We can't stress that enough, that being on top of it, and actually looks like the game is unpaused. We're back into this game here, guys. But being aware of the ganks and being aware for the counter ganks is incredibly, incredibly important as a jungler. Please try to kind of read the situations. You'll see some of these, in these matches here, you notice that, okay, it's that level 3 tower dive, the 2-on-1 when they get to the turret. That's a common gank. Being able to read those common gank signs is very important.
And now with actually seeing Lee Sin bottom, he chooses to go middle to hold off that minion wave that actually is being quite frozen here by Kami. Doesn't want to push it into the lane. There's not really one to roam as an Anivia anyways, but it seems like Kami's just going to be happy to stay here and wait for 6 before he helps his team.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what Anivia ends up doing. If he gets Golem buff, he can actually clear out Wraiths over and over. Lee Sin is a jungler who doesn't actually want to sit in the jungle very much. He's looking for counter jungles. He's looking for ganks. He's trying to get his gold out that way, so taking away the jungle's not very difficult. And actually, Pain's going in here at the bottom.
And they are going in quite strong. It's going to be T2 going in, and this is what I was going to point out earlier, that these guys have a lot of just jumps, a lot of ways to escape quickly. And I feel that if Millennium can't get their fight initiations correct, Sir T and T2 are just going to bounce around taking damage, and the fight's going to go in their favor.
Absolutely. This highly mobile team with a lot of just periodic sort of damage reductions by putting on shields and healing up, lifesteal and things like that. That's incredibly, incredibly useful for these guys. And so long fights really go into Pain's favor, and we'll see that as the game progresses. If they keep up in gold, which they normally have been very good at doing throughout their games, their late game is, generally speaking, I feel, better.
And with this gank down bottom, Kha'Zix sees he can have some free time top at least a little bit as Lee Sin is making his way there. Anguish going quite hard, but they're going to see Kha'Zix pretty soon on this. Yeah, there it is. Mitt turns around to get some extra damage in, and that was a little miscoordinated there by them. They're taking some damage.
Well, Anguish was really trying to bait there, right? He had that red flask right there, a lot of bonus health from that. And he was trying to say, hey, come fight me, turn around, do battle with me, I'll stun you, I'll knock you into the air. I can always flash out and chug that flask at the end to get away. And he was trying to bait that so that I'm So Fresh could show up, leap, Void Spike, Taste Their Fear, all that kind of damage output. And Pain was not taking that. They're like, you're being way too aggressive. There's someone coming up. That was a very good read.
The Dorians for, looks like Riven is actually helping quite a bit as it's 27-18 in CS, and Katarina is forced to build the lesser items of a Warmogs off the start and just get Boots to come back the lane with 8 pots. So it's all about being safe, sustaining in that lane down bottom for T2.
But Pain, in the meanwhile, have a very good setup there at the top lane because this turret is all theirs. The very first turret of the game. 7 minutes 15, that's going to go to Pain. Excellent job by them. And the bottom turret, still at a third.
So, Freak, this kind of, the lanes are going to swap. This is going to give you an idea. They'll probably send Riven back top unless they just allow the AD carry to farm back there. But isn't that one lane actually got the Ignite going down now?
In the mid, a lot of damage onto Kami. And the thing is, putting him down to 50 health like that is the perfect play. Because if they egg him with an actual team there, they will kill him afterwards. And he's probably... If I'm Anivia, he used up 3 health potions. All right, if he's trying to not get egg, go back to full and stay in lane.
And as I was saying, with that turret drop, it was kind of different because Ez and Zyra did stay in that top lane. Is this going to be just knowledge for Riven to say, hey, they just did a 3 top? Is it going to be more of a 3 bottom for them now with Lee Sin? Should she just expect that?
The ganks, honestly, as people level up, it becomes easier and easier to do these like multi-champion dives. And anyone really is fair game. In fact, you're seeing Katarina up at the top lane, Lee Sin's nearby. The thing is, though, is that, so right now, everyone on Pain is pretty much accounted for. They know Anivia has no mana and can't be useful here. They know there's 2 champions at the bottom lane, and they're not going to, leave that anytime soon. So, and of course, they saw those 2 top.
Ooh, a nice dodge there on the Sonic Wave. They can continue to go in on this fight. A great true shot barrage hits Cat. T2, can he get the reset and jump back out? No, he goes down. A failed attempt here. If he can't hit it, he misses the Q again. Can they continue to go? I'm So Fresh coming in, doesn't get the assist, but does help Mama stay alive.
That is just so unfortunate. I mean, it was a great job by Millennium. Thought Mama getting away from that one, but, oh man, MIT taking quite a bit of punishment as well. But that is basically why you have to focus the AD carry, not the support, because the support can toss spells as he runs, and generally speaking will survive, or even if that person dies, will still put all the abilities out there and be useful. In AD carry, they have to sit there auto-tagging to be useful, and if they're not running away from you, they get full damage output.
So that lane was, you know, a victory for Pain Top. They were able to crush it down, almost get a kill off of it as well. But now they've just lost that, and they have a second-tier turret now having aggression on it. Kozik's right on the outside, misses that jump in. So close from just shredding T2's health there.
And basically now you've got, right now, the early game is looking amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Oh my gosh, Angus, so much punishment. Won't quite go down, but the early game is looking great for Millennium overall.
They're going to push through this. I don't know why Angus is backing right there. They are very low. But turret after turret going down here, Freak. You see Wukong backing in mid, trying to just taunt Anivia there. And it looks like they are going to be able to grab this turret slowly but surely as the minion wave comes up on it.
Exactly, and this is really why you lane swap as soon as you take that turret down. Because your opponents have to react to your lane swap. They have to say, okay, you've brought Misfortune and Lulu down to the bottom lane. They've got to put their own sort of dual lane there, otherwise they risk losing that turret as well. Now, by leaving the dual lane up top, it allowed, or by putting the dual lane up top, it pretty much allowed them to finally push down the top turret there, but basically, you're going to have a 2-to-1 turret lead pretty soon. And of course, as I say that, Millennium, of course, has put their dual lane down here to survive that.
Yeah, I was going to say the turret didn't go down after all, slowly but surely, and it's actually being pushed back out by Cretan. Cretan could find MF with a Mystic shot there, but he's actually just going to true shot the wave and still keep her there, so he's preventing her from backing. MF right now has the BF sword, so they're scaling with that 8 or with the damage rather. It's not like they're in any portion where they have to force back here.
This is a really tight situation, though, because Ezreal has a gigantic gold lead over her, about 1,000 up, and you'll see something get completed way before Misfortune will.
That true shot barrage usually, you know, put off. It can be 1,000 nuke burst by the end of late game, and that is absolutely huge. And if Ezreal can reach that before the end of late game, that pretty much takes a Misfortune out of the picture, especially with their long-range ultimate. Dragon going to be contested here, Freak. The wards are down.
But Millennium's got too good a position here. They can't go in without taking a Zyra ult and losing it out, so not a single chance. Fatmama takes some damage. It's a bit painful, but the positioning, we've seen sort of Dragons over and over by the winning teams. They either pick someone down so it's a 5-on-4, or they just have the positioning and say, don't walk through a Zyra, you'll lose.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see the way champions can really change the positioning on that fight as well. Usually it's the default, pull it out of den, it's way easier to escape, but like you said, they closed off the entire thing. So it's very good mentality by Millennium rather, to just play this one slow, calm. They have 2 kills, they have a 2K gold lead. It's nothing huge, but it's an advantage, and they're going to start working that.
Exactly, and this kind of gives them the breathing room to start taking these outer turrets. I think we're going to expect to see 3 outer turrets dead. Unless you have to fight against a Nivy with blue buff, they're going to have a good chance really pushing the outer turrets here.
The grasping Rue would be a good disengage here. There it is, on to 2. There's I'm So Fresh, but it's too close to the turret, and he just gives a little harass.
But they still have not a numbers advantage overall, but they're ahead. And actually
that
in the mid
turret
lane
won't be any help. The mid lane actually onto Anivia, very, very low there, and they both back off. Once again, a sliver of health for each.
And Tabs kind of afraid of that one. Honestly, I really like this Anivia play here. He's up 26 minions and has been bullying him back constantly. Tabs with no summoners up right now. Kami has flash still, and I'm pretty sure the egg he does. So that mid lane is absolutely going to Pain's side, and this is kind of where I think their lead has to come from, because every other lane is behind.
Forcing out into mid. Yeah, it looks like Pain wants to push that. We just saw Kami actually trying to bait out Tabs into that fight again as T2 sat on the backside. So they're trying to pull little tricks. They have their head in this game. They said they rallied just before this, a little bit of reunion for the team to discuss what happened in the game versus Meet Your Makers. And with that same play style, as you heard the host say, they kind of have not an advantage, but an edge going into this. They know to play safe. They know there will be aggression, but right now they're not taking to it. They're going to try to grab their blue here, but here comes more aggression.
This is good for them, though. Anything in the jungle is amazing. That wall, he would have had leap anyway, but that wall is the kind of things you will see in the jungle. Fights in the jungle are just going to absolutely help this Brazilian team here. When you have a Nivea on their team, Crystallize just makes things crazy. You can never count a Nivea out of a game ever. In almost any game, we've seen ludicrous comebacks due to a Nivea being able to stall games out, and especially fights in the jungle will be so difficult for Millennium to manage.
And I think Pain has to figure out what to do with what's happening in mid, because Ezreal's farming down by himself bottom verse 2 without taking any damage. There is too much map control for Millennium right now.
It's very true, basically. The onus is on Millennium to make the pushes happen, and they're ahead, and so they should, generally speaking, be able to do that. The difficulty is just that they're against champions who are really good at sort of dealing with that. If they push mid, they're against a very freshly blue buffed Anivia with Chalice and Fear of the Goddess. So even if blue ends, he's got a lot of mana to go from. And then even at the bottom lane, Ezreal's ahead. He's got the Bloodthirster, but the Bloodthirster is there on Misfortune as well. The only difference is Berserker's Greaves, which matters, but not that much in a one-on-one.
Oh, this could be Mama going down here, rather. He is going to get Tempest. The cripple goes down, but I think it's too far. And Q misses once again. Can they go back on this fight? The reinitiation, the shields are just too much, but they look to keep pressure here. They don't have anybody else coming from anywhere around the map, but look how safe they still feel in lane.
They do, and here comes Lee Sin around the side again. Problem is Creatin has Flash and Barry. They landed on the Mama, though.
There's the kick to Flash over, and they're going to waste quite a bit on him. He still has that ultimate. A very nice safeguard is going to keep Lee Sin out of this crowd control, and it looks like there may be a fight going down for their red as well.
That was a beautiful...
maybe not.
No, they've got complete control there. 3-on-0, basically. Sir T played that absolutely amazingly. The flash kick to put him out of range.
Oh, man. Cretan just missing the true shot barrage. The shield comes out. Can they turn it around? Is it enough? Lulu will pick up the kill, but a great 1-for-1 there.
That, I think, actually goes, honestly, in favor...
Or a 2-for.
Yeah.
The previous.
Yeah, because they got the kill before. That actually goes in favor of Pain. Misfortune almost got as much gold as Ezreal did, because you get half credit for an assist, and half credit of 400, I think it was 432, is pretty close to 300 you get for a kill itself, so that was actually pretty nice there.
I'm So Fresh trying to put some pressure on in the jungle, and we also have Anguish and Tabs. These guys are a roaming powerhouse right now. They have not been in their lanes since the last time I called it in mid when they were pushing in Ezra's bottom, which was probably about 4 or 5 minutes ago. These guys are trying to control every aspect of the map right now. Red buffs, blue buffs, and dragons are also going in their favor.
And that's kind of what's happening here, right? Is again that sort of mid-game, early mid-game control.
Right.
Is in Millennium's favor. They have the gold lead. They've got a lot of really good early mid-game champions like Riven, who just will win in the first sort of 15 minutes of the game, pretty much every battle against every champion. And meanwhile, you're seeing this sort of Pain lineup is trying to get to the late game situations. They're trying to get to that spot. So, you know, you saw them when they got blue buff, had, I think, all 5 members there helping to get golden buff to make sure it didn't get stolen away and make sure that no fight could happen there. And then Anivia put that wall down to make sure that, you know, the pressure wasn't there and they couldn't jump in on them. You're seeing basically Pain try to get themselves to that 30-minute mark to start turning things around. But the turrets, they are under pressure. You saw that bottom turret finally went down there. That's, again, what Millennium is looking to do. This mid lane is going to be hard. They're fighting Anivia again.
And they're just pushing these lanes 1, 2, 3 at a time. Riven up top, Ez still by himself down bottom, 140 to 129. And he only gained that last 20 CS with Zyra, so he's kept himself ahead by himself in that bottom lane. Pain needs to start making some moves. They need to get some impact plays in because they can catch these guys off guard. They have the team that can do it with that burst damage.
They do have a team that can catch people out. They just aren't seeking those quite so much. We talked about it a little bit in the pregame. Their initiation isn't amazing. It's a bit forced if they go for it compared to someone like Flash Ult from Tabs, who just will knock people into the air and make it much easier. So Pain has the chance to get some kills. Oh, and there it is. There's the wall.
They're going on to him. He's going to clone out of that one. They're going to still walk around in these wards, so they have vision. They like the damage they did there, Freak, and it's enough for them to pressure this.
That's very, very good for them, and right now they've got this great spot where Anivia, without Crystallize, still does have Glacial Storm and can really ruin people's day when they go in. And the thing is, they could have taken this dragon. Wukong had just been sent back to base. That's actually a really unconfident move by Pain, because they had a known 5-on-4 and were too afraid to take dragon there.
It looks like they wanted the fight, however, that they had to completely chase for, which is, like you said, somewhat a little bit backwards. They had that dragon. Where does this non-confidence come from that they seem to be having?
I don't know. Well, Pain is a team that have characteristically done very poorly online. They're lauded as the #1 Brazilian team. They won the South American qualifier. They were the #1 team out of that one, got directly seeded into this tournament here that you're seeing in front of yourselves by beating everyone else. And they have never won a Brazilian LAN. They never, ever win those things when it comes down to LAN performances, and I think it's nerves.
There it is. The crowd control goes out. Mama actually holding 3 of her own. Will take an ultimate as well and stays alive. Oh my gosh, they've wasted so much for the support, and now it's to re-engage here, but they find themselves in the middle. A great Lulu ultimate keeps them alive. Tabs could find himself going down here, and it looks like Millennium got a little too overzealous. They will be the kill from Anguish there. The ultimate still burning. I think he has used the initial damage on it, though. There it is, the Tempest. No, the auto attack, the trade back and forth. Now the 3 for 2. Millennium still got Dragon on that, so they come out a little bit on top.
That is a really good fight from Pain, though, overall.
Yeah.
This is kind of what that team is supposed to do. Get the resets from Katarina. Unfortunately, actually, she went down first. They weren't actually able to get much out of her, but that's the general game plan. Get Katarina tanky, get her to go through some resets, have Anivia just mess with everyone forever, and turn fights around and just win those battles in the late game. And that is what they're looking to do, right? They burned all their ultimate, not all their ultimate, but a lot of their ultimates, a lot of their major cooldowns on Zyra. Zyra was still able to get her ultimate down and get out of that battle, I believe, without dying, unless I'm mistaken there. And even still, even if they did pick her up as one of those kills, they still burned all their a lot of their cooldowns on one champion and still managed to make that fight 3 for 2.
Yeah, that's usually one of the things that scares me. How much do you really want to waste on one person? And that looked like it was just way too much. Zyra was able to crowd control 3 when they wasted a ton of abilities on her. But yeah, like you said, sometimes it just works out. 20 minutes into this one, 5-5, and a 4,000 gold lead for Millennium after the Dragons have just been in their favor. You can see the CS pretty much in their favor as well with the lane swaps that they had. 128 on Riven to Katarina's 103. But Katarina has that Warmogs, so the sustain for her to jump around with Lee Sin in the fight, it's going to be a little bit better now.
Yes, that's going to be a really important thing. The difficulty, at the very least, is that Millennium has great single target damage output. They've got some good AoE. You know, they've got Kha'Zix, who's, yeah, he's pretty AoE. Riven technically is area of effect. Wukong has a fair amount. Ezreal and Zyra do have area of effect, but generally speaking, I consider their team more assassin and single target focused, just more so than they're an area of effect team. So getting rid of Katarina on accident is not going to be easy. They have to actually dedicate some effort to getting rid of her, and by being tanky, by going for a Haunting Guy's Next, things like that, she's going to have a much better time surviving in these sort of battles, and getting rid of Katarina just is not going to be easy.
Well, they're giving everything they got to guard the last bit of health on this turret. Anivia's blue buff is on, though, and they may initiate here. A little bit of that free damage we were talking about before, but he did take some himself. It's getting a little bit trickier to do that now. He didn't have his teammates to safeguard back to, and they had made their way quite far. Just dropping wards.
Yeah, it's very wise of them to keep ward coverage. We see this more and more in the past few months, that teams are actually warding in the middle of lanes just to see how well positioned the other team is, because they'll come in from often just far away, not even from brush or from the side, but just from the fog of war, and here comes Tabs.
There's the wall that went down. They like that initiation. The true shot completely misses, and you see Tabs simply turn around in a 360 there. He's like, up and no.
Turned 360 degrees and walked away.
Yep.
Alrighty. Just
well, he was spinning
backwards.
in circles.
That's true. That was like a 1080 at least then.
Okay.
But I just like how well Pain got out of that fight, though. The speed buff from Katarina was just enough to get her out of range. Tabs completely blew his ultimate for no effect whatsoever. But on the other side, you saw Bullet Time actually come across 2 to 3 members of Millennium and actually whittle them down. You're seeing these fights over and over and over again really go in Pain's favor. Millennium, though, I think better than anyone here, are going to be able to catch something out. If you're going to compare those lineups, Millennium can catch out those kills and turn things out of nowhere, but Kami's going to find one.
Wow, Mama just kind of gets caught out there. It's like he really wasn't even looking, just wanted to check a bush, and Anivia coming out of the fog of war there. That's the kind of things they need to pick up, and I was just about to mention the wards they had placed are going to start helping.
Exactly. They've got a lot of aggressive wards, really all over the place. Here is the map vision for Pain. They see everything in the mid. They see literally everything in this mid lane. There's no way to get around those wards, and that allows them to get people out of the sides.
You can hear the Brazilians cheering these guys on. They want Pain to go through on this match, and they're looking poised to do so. Only 3K down. We've seen matches hit worse, and they have great control over the mid here. They're starting to push back. When do they start taking the chances, though? They're still a little on their heels.
I think they're fine to just keep waiting.
Right.
One of the big breakpoints is going to be Last Whisper on Misfortune. That's going to be a big damage boost. They just finished Leandro. He's actually just now, I think, onto Anivia. That's actually a huge damage source as well. They kind of have the builds where they're kind of okay to start fighting. Misfortune has a 30-stack Bloodthirster. They've got Leandri's on Anivia, which is a ludicrously efficient item because pretty much everything Anivia does is a crowd control, and so you'll just do that double damage all the time. Honestly, they have great damage.
Oh, I'm so fresh. It's caught out. Lee Sin connects. The resonating strike could not follow with enough damage, but that is what they need. Continue to push Millennium out of the game and start to make these moves.
There's a great flash in the end there by Kha'Zix getting away because the Dragon Kick ultimate from Lee Sin would have picked up the kill. But speaking of kills, Fat Mama, ooh, you hurt.
Oh, Fat Mama getting caught out once again, this time forcing Flash. He just got back onto the map. So far, he's only really been gold for the other team in those 2 spawns.
And that is a harsh situation. Great job by Payne to follow that one up. Now they've got a 30 seconds of 4 on 5. I don't think they're going to have... They ping Dragon. Can you give me the Dragon timer, actually? Because if Dragon's up, then it's theirs for free. But if it's not, they need to shove bottom and get this turret from Misfortune.
Dragon should be coming up actually quite soon here. It looks like they will poise for it, and they have no coverage. The wards are actually too far back. They forgot about Dragon, and they said, let's just do the jungle and ward it when we get there. Look at that. Perfectly timed. He threw down the Tempest as soon as it came out. They're going to get this one quite easy. Cat trying to hold off mid as well, but it looks like it's going to go down there. So a little bit of gold evening on the Dragon for the turret.
That was actually very, very wise from Millennium to counteract that, knowing they're going for Dragon, saying we can't stop that 4v5. But we know you have so many committed there that you don't have enough to defend this turret. And you actually saw the really early ult from Katarina to try to shove them away, and it just wasn't enough.
Keeping an eye on Tabs right now. He's trying to play a lot of tricky moves. He's hiding in the Fog of War to clone in and start the fight. And every time, it's when Crystalline Wall is used, that crystallized wall.
Yes.
You see that go down? He ulted in last time and then turned tide because the Ezreal ult missed it. Yeah, missed. So
yes.
Next time we see her use that wall, watch for where Tabs is. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
And that's really what this game keys off of, is this is a team from Payne who are very good at kind of biding their time, waiting around, going for late game. The late game is awesome. They are happy to sort of sit around and just kind of pretend they're really fighting against Millennium, because they're not really going to easily take fights. And the only great initiation from Millennium is Tabs. Right? You just mentioned the great plays he's going to make. He's going to sit in Fog of War, cast Decoy, send himself out in stealth, and just hope to land Nimbus Strike into Cyclone. And that's how the fights are going to start. It's going to be, can Tabs find someone to dash in and pop ult?
We said that was going to be scary for him, Freak. They have to go in as that melee team, but you have to walk right into that Anivia. Kami's been playing quite well this game. We saw him just absolutely shred I'm So Fresh out of the mid lane with a little bit of help from Sir T. So we'll have to see what they can do. Sir T is kind of off on his cues, though, today. We'll have to see if he can bring those back around.
He has missed quite a lot. There have been some great flashes, some great dodges from Millennium, but generally speaking, yeah, you would have liked to see just a couple more hits coming out. A couple of those kills would have been available if he'd landed them.
Little stun aggression onto Angus, just making out of the range of that Sonic Wave. Unfortunate again for Sir T. The wall goes down. Will the initiation happen? Mama going to throw his down, and there it is. Tabs goes in with the ultimate. The wall is down. The Lulu ultimate comes up to almost stop Tabs, and it looks like they are getting absolutely shredded here. But Cretan has a good amount of health. Here comes BRTT. He is full on HP, and they are going to walk through that one with a triple kill, picking up 4 altogether.
Absolutely phenomenal. And there's the crowd. That speaks for it, really. Great fight by Payne. Even with Crystallized down, they won that one.
Wow.
I just saw I'm So Fresh dive in, and he died midair, like mid-leap trying to kill someone. Just so much burst came out there.
Tabs, I think he tried to make it a little too tricky on that one. He left his team back on the backside, and he went in as well. And like you said...
Oh, BRTT's looking for Fat Mama, just under the turret.
Oh my gosh.
And he finds it.
That is painful right there, and a huge lead has just been grabbed. I wouldn't say lead, but I'd say momentum advantage. It's 12-7, 28 minutes in. The gold now absolutely even. Just a 400 gold margin. That's even in League of Legends. Nobody cares about 400 gold. 3-2 in turrets. Freak, this just became a really good game.
Oh, it's been a good game, let's be fair, for most of it, but this became kind of another hyper-close game. I think every, 4 of the 5 games so far, 4 of the 5 or something that we've seen so far have been ridiculously hyper-close.
Yeah.
It's just ludicrously close game. And actually, I'm looking over, MYM have just won their match against Next Impetus.
All right.
So MYM are 2-1, Next are 0-3. If Payne wins here, we have a 3-way tie at 2-1. If Payne loses, we have an obvious top 2 in the group.
We will have to see what happens, Freak. As we get to that point, where do these late game teams come in? We see a little bit of damage here. Hang on, there may be a fight. But who's going to have that in the next 10, 15 minutes? Who's that side on?
I just over and over again, I like Payne's lineup. When you compare, what's the big late game power here for Millennium? It's basically Ezreal. It's Creation on Ezreal,
right,
who's having a pretty good game for himself. Yeah. But compare him to BRTT on Misfortune. He's pretty much equal on gold. Okay, so they're going to have equal items, and that's fine. So that's more or less equivalent. Then look at the rest of that. You've got Katarina, who's going to outscale Riven. You've got Lee Sin, who I'm going to say actually he's going to be a little bit behind I'm So Fresh because I'm So Fresh is just farming so well.
Right.
But then you compare what Wukong's going to do to what Anivia is going to do, and it's very, very different. The late game potential for damage and crowd control and just general fight control, much higher for Pain.
Yeah, being able to use that Glacial Storm every 6 seconds. It's kind of better than an ultimate every minute and a half, or a little less.
And again, they just want to drag those fights out, pull on the one big ultimate, the Wukong Cyclone, survive that, and then just turn it. And they absolutely can. Miss Fortune's going to play from far away. Lulu can just clutch save someone. Anivia is going to have to die twice anyway, and the rest of that team is building tanky, and they'll be able to withstand that.
So Dragon coming up very soon, as we saw that 24-minute Dragon just before, and it looks like Millennium kind of positioning themselves on that side of the map, but more for aggression right now. They're going to find Sir T. He should be able to jump out of this one, but he actually used Safeguard just to stay alive. No, there it is. He does get himself out, and they are going to be stuck in the wall. A very nice job once again. He tries to go in. Will it be enough, though? I'm So Fresh is not that tanky yet. Tabs does have a good amount of health on him, but they're able to drop I'm So Fresh right away. Tabs is left now to run. Doesn't have the clone. Another triple kill coming up for Misfortune.
Wow, just so many kills. And again, it's 3 alive versus 1 alive. And I can't say it enough. The damage output is ludicrously good. That one started with an amazing Crystallize into Misfortune ultimate, shredding Millennium, killing off Anguish with no chance for counterattack. And then you saw I'm So Fresh come in, and you just said I'm So Fresh is not tanky. Eviscerated.
Yep.
You saw Tabs come in. Tabs, not all that tanky. Tried to pick up kills. An amazing ult from Lee Sin actually got him away and off of BRTT for long enough for them to trade kills there, because he had a beautiful Cyclone. Tabs had an amazing Cyclone there and got kicked out of the battle. The repositioning available here for Pain is incredibly useful.
Freak, coming into this, what's the focus for both teams right now? It's 30 minutes into the game. You have that one guy to kill, but it does not look like, even without a tanky lineup, just the Anivia's able to keep them off of BRT. That's who they want. Who are we looking for? With an Ezreal, you can't chase him, but who are they going to look for as they go for Baron here?
Well, I mean, honestly, Anguish is going to be the first one to go down in most situations. He doesn't have easy... Actually, I take that back. He's got a Warmogs now. He's not the guy to go for. I'm So Fresh is really the guy to... I'm So Fresh and Tabs the guys to go for here. They would like to ignore Anguish if possible. He will have pretty good damage output, but just being Warmogs Riven is not going to be something you want to kill. You tend to have to kill things in the front just in order anyway, but if they get a choice of it, I'm So Fresh number 1, Tabs number 2,
right.
And then just kind of go from there down the list.
That's a scary thing to know your Kha'Zix can just be focused out like that. Usually he's the guy you're running from. The Dragon once again going to Pain. They were able to grab that last one out. A 37-50 Dragon will come there. Mama, I'm going to say that all day.
Yeah.
Mama trying to get himself in just to see what the timer was possibly. And a good push here down the mid lane is going to give them some advantage as they start heading for Riven top. This looks bad for Anguish. It's going to be BRT. He is quite stacked in items right now, and he's actually building himself a Giant's belt too. So he's going to start getting tanky, and it looks like the team's going to meet up with him. Right now, I'd say she's on an execute.
No, it's got.
No, that's right. We raised it. They raised it. That's right.
And I think she's going to get in range time. Anyway, I think Anguish is going to actually run the loop and pull a Mac Noon and go all through the base and probably make it out. Unless they dive on her, they'll lose the turret if they chase. She's going to get out.
A great job there. They're not going to have BRT for this fight. You can see Tabs going around. Looks like Tabs is going to grab top turret. They're really trying to spread him thin right now.
Oh my gosh, so little health left. Anguish made it out despite the Misfortune ultimate. Really nice escape. Sorry, I actually went away from that one for a second.
No, you're fine.
All right. Sir T trying to show up a little bit there. Put out some good damage. And once again, Pain's got a 4-on-5. If they felt... Actually, they couldn't force Baron because they actually used the Misfortune ult as part of that. But otherwise, they probably could have just baited a Baron attempt, gone for it, and then said, if you come at us, we'll crystallize and we'll ult, and you'll lose that fight. And they could have done a Baron bait there. In this case, it's not going to be that situation. They're going to push down mid a little bit. But Pain, I think they're having a bit of a mistake here because they're not finding turret kills. They've been winning fights in a row for a while. They're actually up in gold, but they've not really done anything to cement that lead. They haven't removed turrets from the map. They haven't, gotten these Baron fights going. They need to find some way to turn this game into a really big lead.
Ultimate's being pushed down. Pretty good wave clear coming out from Millennium. It's making it hard to grab those turrets, but you're right, Freak. They're coming up with triple kills, and they're not capitalizing. This could be one they do. A great kick away halfway through the air. Anguish does not get to use Broken Wings to get himself closer, and they will try to reinitiate this fight. There's one ultimate down, however. So we've got Dragon's Rage coming in for the ultimate from Riven. Yeah.
Payne's waiting for bullet time. He's calling the cooldown. I mean, anytime you're in a good team, you will call major cooldowns. A bullet time was called. Guys, it's up now. Let's go fight.
He had about 10 seconds on it, and they want to initiate that strong. The first minion coming out, just stopping Sir T from getting any farther. They've taken quite a bit of poke here in this initiation, Freak.
And the damage really going back and forth. Creatin doing a very good job sustaining himself back up and putting a ton of poke.
There's Tabs' favorite reason to initiate. The wall is down. The Zyra and the Wukong out. They finally got them to stack on each other, and the power is just completely unstoppable. Going in, 2 double kills to come up. Can they make it a full house for one of those guys? But it looks like Kami gets himself out alive.
Yeah, but they got 4 for 2, and they've got the right members alive to go for Baron. And I don't think Anivia can 1v3 this. I think she's too sort of inescapable. I think there's a very easy chance, unless he can do a lot of damage over the wall.
Right. Get that flash in, throw it on the wall, hopefully stun them up and just allow Baron to take one of them out. But they are getting good damage in here. She throws down the ult onto Ezreal, but now she's going to be forced to go around the wall. See if Egg is up. Egg is up, so she does have Rebirth as she goes in to try and steal it. It's going to be all for Kha'Zix. I'm So Fresh takes it, but she gets 2, and she could get 3 if she gets up in time. No, it's going to be too much damage. A last crit, rather, from Ezreal is going to pick up the kill.
That was actually quite a nice move there. So much damage coming out from Anivia. Really, really great play by him. I don't think he could have shown up really much sooner. I think even if Baron hadn't died, that would have gone down the same way, and Ezreal would have cleaned it up in the end. And maybe he could have shown up sooner. I don't think he could have turned that fight in a different way, but still, getting rid of 2 Baron buffs and 2 for winning there, very much worthwhile.
They actually only have 1 Baron because of the people that were down.
And everyone else was dead. That's actually really, really good. Yeah, so Millennium will get the gold lead from that. You can see they're up about 1,500 gold, but that's it. The 1 Baron buff, it matters on Ezreal, but only 1 Baron buff's not huge.
Right, when you don't have that on Wukong and Kha'Zix diving in, very big. So that they couldn't have waited on it, obviously, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles for that one. True Shot Barrage stopping Sir T for backing. Looks like Tabs is going to come in here and try to aggress on this. He goes for the second push already, trying to read this one out, and he's going to keep pressure on just so Tabs can't back. They're kind of just so he can't back. They're playing that game now, just, oh, waste your time. My team can make more of an advantage.
And Millennium's doing an amazing job of keeping turrets alive. Remember this bottom turret that we thought was going down like at minute 14?
Slowly going down.
Slowly and steadily. It's down to 459 health. Oh. Someone looks at it wrong. It might fall over later, but Millennium are doing an amazing job of keeping their structures alive. It's a really, really important thing for them.
All of these fights, they never have anybody either. They're doing enough damage so that Pain can't get in there and do any damage of their own. And for a melee team, really awesome fights they've put up so far, and taking down the turrets as well. They're just trying to get in the face of Pain right now. Still right on these wraiths. You can see 2 wards just there in actually range of each other. And again, both teams have cumulative 4 wards there.
Clearing them out, finally.
There we go.
Alrighty, so it's going to be a battle of vision in a lot of situations here, because you just saw last fight, finally that good engage coming out from Tabs and just crushing everybody's health bars. A lot of that comes from, does Pain see Tabs coming? Can they reposition in time? Can they stop him from killing them? And that's a really important thing to keep track of, and basically you need to keep track of Tabs. So getting wards in a lot of places is a huge requirement here from Pain, and making sure they don't get jumped out of nowhere. Misfortune's having an awesome game, 10, 3, and 5, has the Warmogs here himself, so he shouldn't be dying to just Wukong. But if he dies to Wukong plus Kha'Zix with resets, Warmogs isn't going to save you there. So, again, they need to be able to watch where those fights are coming from and make them happen well.
Looks like they are going to pull out Dragon on this one to give themselves an escape. If they do require it, they find Tabs down in the bottom, and he is going to get walled in, but he does enough damage to first take down Kami. Looks like he will go down here. He dashes the other way, but here comes MF. A few more shots. Not going to be enough for him to get out.
Nope, but Millennium are pushing for the mid turret. That's going to be theirs before Pain can react.
Taking this down. Anguish coming from the backside as well, so they're going to be forced actually to the right side of their base. They can't even really come across to defend the front stairs. A little bit of damage here, but no minion wave, and Ezreal kind of wanting to keep that buff for the next fight.
Oh, sure, of course. And realistically, they're trading out their only source of reliable crowd control is not something that Millennium wants to pick a fight afterwards when that happens. So Now, the difficult thing is that Tabs burned all of his summoners, killing Kami. So he doesn't have the flash. He doesn't have the flash initiation. Doesn't have the ignite to help pick down champion kills. So whenever it comes back up, he'll have Cyclone, and that's good. That's mostly all he needs. But it'll be harder to land that Cyclone.
Dragon coming up around 35 minutes here as everybody continues to just try and get tanky now. It's all about the 5v5 fights here, Freak. Like you said, fights in the jungle for Pain are going to be the 110% that they want. That Nivea in the jungle is just detrimental to any team fight. And we've seen that, you know, whether it's just been Tabs going by himself and initiating the fight, they have always made sure they're in the open for Zyra ulti, for Kha'Zix to jump, for everybody to be envisioned to get there with their melee range.
And that's going to be, I mean, kind of just the game as it's playing out over and over, right? They need to get into those battles. They need to jump into range. They need to make those things happen. And Millennium now with a you know, half-decent gold lead are able to do that more and more confidently. Basically, the way that you kind of fight as a melee team is you look for confidence. You look for everyone going in at the same time, kind of dunking all together, and just getting the damage up with it, getting the crowd control on there, and just getting those kills. If Millennium is ever uncoordinated and only goes in like 2 at a time, they will never ever win that battle. They've got to go in as one cohesive unit.
We saw it that last fight.
Exactly. Yeah. They all came in together, and it worked amazingly. And so with them now kind of realizing they're up in gold, like they know they're down 5 kills, but they know they have Baron, they know they have more dragons, they know they have 3 extra turrets. They'll all be on that same page of feeling confident. And so even without actually saying it verbally and saying, guys, let's go in, they'll all know it's time to go in. They'll all be able to read those situations as, yes, we should go fight. And that'll help them just a little bit on that coordination.
A good push here in mid by Pain. Looks like they will take a little bit of harass. No turret damage coming out as they take poke onto Anguish there. That base damage of Anivia with all the items that she has to herself. Like you said, scaling so hard into this late game, especially with Katarina. They have a lot to be reckoned with right now, especially, we pointed out before, Lee Sin and Kat, the mobility of the fight to just dodge in and out of that damage, the double shield they have for a fight. Their overall fight synergy is absolutely ridiculous. And unfortunately, it's amazing. Well, not unfortunately, it's amazing. Unfortunately, all the AoE ults have to be put on each other for that to work again, because that's the only time we've seen it happen for Millennium. So, like you said, I think Pain has a little more entries into these fights coming in.
And Pain has a lot of exits as well, which is so incredibly important. It's still a difficulty for them because they just don't have hard engage. So even if they are winning, it's difficult to pick a fight. But those fights will tend to go in their favor unless they overstep their bounds, get mispositioned, and Millennium just pounces. And then Pain's going to hope they have some way of getting out of those situations, which we'll see if it happens. It can be very, very difficult for them.
All right,
Anguish moving around looking for something.
So taking stock of where we're at right now, 42 minutes just about into the game. That let's say it's about a 4,000 gold lead as they're right on that 57,000 mark. But it's 20 to 15. Pain has slowly kept this lead in their favor of kills, but the gold lead is so going back and forth. It's now come into the favor of Millennium because of those turrets. And we actually saw that kind of being Pain's thing. They wanted turrets before, but this time they're not all about them.
No, this is just kind of how the game is going. And here comes the fight.
Looks like they are going to dive in. It's back and forth. Nobody really taking too much damage. A lot of focus onto Anguish, which is surprising. And they're going to get out here. They use the Shurelya's. They cannot reinitiate onto this. Tabs throwing himself in unnecessarily. The True Shot Barrage actually shredding through Lulu. They may be able to get a few kills down here, but I think they went in a little too low on HP. MF is being chased down here. They could be able to take her BRT down. Wow, I Am So Fresh and his team have actually pulled this one out. And Nivea comes back up, and somehow, Freak, they re-coordinated that fight to be in their favor, and it looked completely 100% for Pain.
That was just a ridiculous fight going in and out multiple times. Tabs, though, just tanked it up long enough. Anguish as well, and I'm So Fresh just got to be cleanup crew. They got enough early burst damage down. They got a lot of early damage output, and then just said, I'm So Fresh, go get it. Go get the resets, go kill things, make it happen.
Oh,
Kami some good damage. Fresh has finally enough mana to leap out. He should be okay.
there he is, simply getting out of there. And that's one of the worst things when you're just forced to take a Polaroid if somebody's stealing away your blue buff and you can't do anything about it. Tabs now with the Guardian Angel, even more happy now to dive into these fights after he sees his initiation cue of the crystalline wall.
Yeah, basically, and the thing is, the ability for the fights to go well for Pain, right, they're just dying a little bit too fast. basically. The hardcore damage output coming out. Wukong's got a Black Cleaver, Riven's got a Black Cleaver, Zyra finally has some real damage output for herself. Lily Andrews was finished kind of a while ago. And Kha'Zix, you know, he opened up Bloodthirster and now has his tank stats. They have really good burst here from Millennium. That's the one thing that Pain doesn't really have themselves unless they catch everyone in Misfortune Ultimate. They don't have fast kills, they have slow kills. And so you can kind of see Pain, if they get dropped altogether in the first 5 seconds, they don't have an answer as Kha'Zix keeps resetting and killing things.
Everybody's converging on this Sonic Wave a little too early. He's going to have to jump in to get that effect. Baron still taking, actually he's gaining health. Lee Sin has jumped in. Where's the smite going to go down to? And Riven's going to be able to actually grab that after the smite. Surge forced to flash out, leaving his team to die in there. It's going to be T2 trying to keep himself alive, but the Guardian Angels are now being popped. Mama to keep himself alive with a sliver of health there. They're kind of limping away from this one. And Razor very hurt. Mama very hurt as well. The True Shot Barrage coming out, just missing over the left shoulder of Sir T, and they're forced to back out of this fight. Baron buff now to a full set of members besides Riven. Let's see what they can do with this one.
They're going to have a really good time, I think, fighting at this point. They're waiting for ultimates a little bit. I think they won't do anything too crazy until Wukong comes back with Cyclone in 30 seconds. But once they get past that mark, which is really just as long as it takes to walk across the map, you'll see them, they can aggressively go onto turrets and be okay to do that. Even with the Guardian Angel being down off cooldown, they've got a sizable gold lead, a good experience lead. Even Zyra's level 16 here, out-leveling the supporting at the side. The jungler's not level 18 on Pain, so that, they're down a couple levels here. And they just are getting tankier. They can start withstanding the turret damage, and you'll see them play just sort of progressively more and more aggressive.
So as we look around at the item builds, I don't see any more Guardian Angels actually being built, unless that's going to be one on Lee Sin in the near future. But other than that, it's on Wukong right now. It's really about the Warmogs for these teams. You can even see the AD carries trying to stay strong. But like you said, Freak, when they start getting a Black Cleaver, when they start getting the damage, that's not going to matter as much. And we see the AD carries melting in these fights.
And the thing is, these AD carries are huge, huge damage sources. When you look at sort of the distribution of gold on Pain, you see 15,000 on Anivia, 16,000 on Misfortune. The next place is like 5,000 gold behind on Katarina. He has fully 50% more gold than T2. That's BRTT. And when AD carries are dropping that fast in fights, when the guy who has your most gold on your team can't effectively fight because he's too afraid of Wukong and Kha'Zix, that really neuters your team's damage output. If BRTT can actually get safe in a team fight somehow, can actually position himself well, get out of harm's way, and just lay down auto attacks, he will kill anyone he goes for. No one on that Millennium lineup can withstand Misfortune's damage output, and no one on Pain's lineup can easily withstand Ezreal's damage output either. But it's who can get the auto attacks down more frequently and more safely that really matters here.
Well, Freak, without being able to withstand that, we'll have to see if they can withstand now the split push coming out from I'm So Fresh and the triple push coming out from Tabs on the bottom. They've taken out the turret. They have somebody knocking at each of the inhibitor turrets here. Actually, I'm So Fresh is wavering in between each lane right now, and you can see them doing the same thing. This is where it gets scary. This is where your team starts to get spread thin, and you really have to distribute the power accordingly.
And fighting 3-on-3s, I think, is really, really good for Millennium. They're happy to fight these little split battles because I think they're more assassin-focused. They can tend to win smaller fights much better than they win 5-on-5 fights.
They're being quite aggressive. They do have Baron, though. Tabs has a good amount of time on his Guardian Angel, but he is consistently face-tanking that bottom turret for quite a bit of damage. He's almost down to half now. A good aggression from Sir T there. He does not like him on the front step. And it looks like the turret goes down. He takes a good amount of damage, so this fight could still continuously go in poke favor of I'm So Fresh and his team. Although they are melee, they're getting good damage and backing out.
They had an opening there to try to go for I'm So Fresh right there. Landing that stun, they could have tried the dog pilot. Would have been risky, but it was a chance. But now with that inhibitor down, the bottom inhibitor also taking a lot of punishment. I mean, they have that Baron buff, they have the gold advantage. Pain can't easily start fights and stop that poke war.
Pain trying to throw out everything they can right now. You can see Anivia just throwing out spikes, throwing out her wall, trying to deter Wukong. They're using everything they can to stop what's happening to their base. It's being torn to shambles. T2 goes in. The ultimate from Lulu. The Riven ult comes across, able to help take them down as Riven finally goes down. And they will continue to spin. Tabs looking for BRT, takes him down. Razor will be next. I'm So Fresh finally tanky enough to get himself in there. It's going to be the Rebirth going down. The GGWPs are coming out from Pain, and that is a very good game and well played by Millennium.
That was a beautiful fight right there, and I want to hand it out to the patience on some of the members of that team. Creighton actually held on the True Shot barrage until Cyclone hit. Didn't matter what the positioning looked like. He said, okay, Tabs, when you go in, I'll ult on top of you. And you saw actually 3 fights in a row, they basically would one-shot Lulu in those battles. Millennium 3-0 in the group. That's going to be first place for them. Beautiful coordination. Coming ahead in kills finally at the end, 26-25, but a great